Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Paula from Poets and Quants, and today we are on day 2 of our Online MBA session, and we'll be talking about reimagining the Online MBA and innovation, engagement, and the student experience. So we have 5 panelists with us today, and they are from UNC, Matthew Henty. From Florida, we've got Naz Aranguch. CMU, we've got Erica Tatrai. Michigan, that's Lizette Korn. And from Gies, we've got Casey Jones. So I've already done that very brief run through, but I'd like everyone to introduce themselves and tell us just a little bit about your role at your institution. So, Lizette, do you want to kick us off?
Hi, everyone. Like Paula said, my name is Lizette Korn. I'm the manager director for our part-time MBA programs here at Michigan Ross. Been in this role about 3 years now, but with Michigan Ross for about 12 years. So really excited to see what everyone's up to today.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Casey Jones. I'm the Director of Graduate Recruitment and Admissions at the University of Illinois Gies College of Business. So oversee admissions for both our portfolio of online programs, including our online MBA, as well as our suite of residential master's degrees. Work very closely with our marketing teams, as well as our student services teams, to ensure we have a cohesive experience for learners throughout their journey.
Great. Naz?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Naz Aranguch. I'm the Director of Admissions for the MBA program here at the Warrington College of Business. And even though I know we're focused on our online MBA programs today, I also oversee, we have 3 full-time options, an executive MBA program, and we have some weekend part-time formats, both in Jacksonville and in Miami. So I get to oversee the full portfolio.
And Erica, and then Matthew.
My name is Erica Tatrai. I'm from Carnegie Mellon University Tepper School of Business. I'm the director of the online hybrid MBA programs here, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Henty. I'm the director of the online MBA program at UNC Kenan-Flagler Business School. I kind of have broad responsibility for everything, academics and the student journey throughout the program here at UNC.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So, to start off with, quite a broad one here, but how has the definition of online learning evolved within your programs? And who'd like to start us off with this one?
I
Sure,
can
Naz.
start off. Yeah, so it's a kind of a fun history here because when we started our online MBA program here at the University of Florida Warrington College of Business back in 1999, we literally used to send out videotapes of class recordings, and that obviously has evolved plenty over the last 27 years. And so of course today the evolution of our online program is really been such that students have that ultimate flexibility of being able to download their lectures and watch their program, their content asynchronously. Many of our programs here will be either synchronous or asynchronous. Some will have a hybrid versus a completely virtual opportunity to be in that learning environment. But I think that the definition for us here at Warrington is that we wanted to be able to offer the utmost flexibility by offering an asynchronous format whereby the average busy working professional can plan on spending about 15 to 20 hours a week on their MBA studies. So, and that has been an evolution over the years.
Excellent. Casey?
Sure. So our program's a little bit newer than NAS, launched in 2016. So we're celebrating 10 years for our online MBA program. I think our program was I don't think our program was designed to be online intentionally. So we were on the forefront of designing a flexible yet engaging online experience. I think the change that we're seeing is that learners are really requiring or requesting more flexibility in their studies in how they take courses and how they engage. But For our learners in particular, they're also requesting more of that true engagement and how we collaborate with our peers. So that's something that we're continually working to bring in both in and outside of the classroom. So while the degree can be done fully online, how can we ensure they still get those networking experiences, those true hands-on experiences, regardless of where they're joining us from across the globe. So working to build additional case studies, additional immersion opportunities, additional opportunities to interact with peers. If I can't join the live lecture that happens on a Tuesday or Thursday, are there opportunities for me to still watch that lecture and engage with peers? A lot of technology that continues to be released allows learners to be able to do that, and figuring out how and what works, I think is important in today's world. So many options, and we can overwhelm our learners. So finding that balance, I think, is something that's really important in today's day and age. And then, of course, AI and how that impacts the classroom experience, how we utilize AI in an impactful and meaningful way.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on those 2 points. Obviously, one of our panels yesterday was about AI and how the online MBA is changing because of AI. So I'm sure we'll hear more of that. And similar points too around, making sure the in-person experience, there are more opportunities to connect, whether that's in the classroom or not. Erica, how's that been at CMU?
Sure. Similar to Naz and Casey, our asynchronous content is very flexible, recorded in small, digestible chunks so students can fit it into they're very busy working in personal lives. And they expect to come to the classroom, and engage and be collaborative with faculty and other students. So there's no lecture-based content where you're coming and you're sitting in a class for 75 minutes and someone's talking to you. It's really collaborative group work. It's going back and forth with engaging discussion, question and answer sessions. So realistically, we're getting the learning done on our own time, and we're coming and we're bouncing our ideas off of peers and faculty and really seeing how we can put it into real world action.
Sure. Have you found that at UNC, Matthew? Digestible chunks was a key phrase that stuck in my mind.
So for UNC Kenan-Flagler, we've been around since 2011, and the program has definitely grown since then. But we have kind of kept a little bit of the same format because we've found a lot of success in having regular synchronous classes during the week for students, and then their async material that they develop and they learn from during the regular week, their study hours. But we've really kind of tried to evolve the program to provide as many options as possible for students as well. And we're finding that students, again, want more choice. So we're giving them in-person experiences if they want to. We have quarterly networking in-person experiences built into our program called Summits. We do those twice a year here in Chapel Hill and twice a year in international locations abroad. But then we also have experiential courses such as a consulting course. We have study abroad courses. Students in our program can also take elective courses within our other formats here at the Kenan-Flagler Business School. So if they want to take an in-person course, they're more than welcome to do that. So we've tried to really evolve this definition of online learning for students and give them more choice. So if they want to just do the online component, they're welcome to do that. But we have a lot of options available to them in the program.
Sure, Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we may be the newest entrant here, right? We launched in 2019, and from the beginning, our goal was really to give our online MBA students the same rigor, in-class engagement as our residential students. We wanted them to think it's a Ross MBA that's online, not an online MBA from Ross. So we heavily invested in high impact technology, and we've continued to evolve that. So from green screens to LED video displays to an extended reality environment, really allowing students to engage with each other and faculty as seamlessly as possible. And of course, technology is continuously evolving. So we're always exploring new tools and techniques to continue that engagement and really build a robust virtual learning community.
And more specifically, I mean, we've been talking about how things are evolving. But if I mean, I appreciate some schools haven't been around for this long, right? But if you had an online program in 2020, how has that online MBA changed from 6 years ago, if that was the case?
I can jump in and start talking about
Right.
that if that's
Thanks.
okay. So, so 6 years ago, I think that oftentimes, the MBA experience that we saw was one where students were in COVID era, they were trying to navigate an entirely virtual experience, and I think that the evolution of kind of post pandemic is that our students are actually wanting to engage in a much bigger, broader, more in-depth manner. I love that my fellow panelists have talked about all of the various ways in which summits to, campus residencies to other events, networking opportunities. I mean, I think that all of us can say that over the last 6 years, we've been much more intentional about offering more opportunities for our online MBA students to feel engaged with our larger kind of parent institutions, if you will, so that they aren't feeling like they're just living in silos and experiencing this MBA, as a solo internet consumer of one. So much of our MBA program here at Warrington is just about increasing those opportunities. So even though pre-2020 students could go on our global immersion experiences or participate in our Washington campus, the idea of summits are within the last few years new to the Warrington experience. But we've also have intentionality of bringing students back to campus for a variety of other kind of professional development opportunities. So in fact, this week, we have 30 online MBA students here in Gainesville learning more about decision making through AI. And so that is being led by a faculty member. But we recognize that maybe not all 500, give or take, online MBA students are going to be able to make it to Gainesville for a campus residency opportunity. And therefore, we also offer a number of things in market. So recognizing that Gainesville, Florida is, albeit a great place to live, maybe not the easiest place to get to, we do offer a number of MBA summits and our conference series in larger metro areas. And so, in fact, we just had a group of students return from Chicago, where we did an MBA summit in Chicago. We also, typically do about 6 of these in various markets throughout the year. So over from 2020 to 2026, just the number of opportunities to engage with us, the number of professional development opportunities, to the number of skill building seminars that we have to offer, that has drastically increased over this period of time. And I think the biggest differentiator is not only are we offering these things online, but we've recognized that there's value in offering them here in our brick and mortar campus as well as on the road to appease to our students, who we recognize that more than 60%, if not more, of our online MBA students aren't sitting here in the state of Florida. So it's being, intentional about how can we deliver programming to these students at an even more heightened level with even more frequency to allow for that wonderful Warrington MBA online experience.
Absolutely. Kind of helping bring the brick and mortar experience to them, even if they can't make it down. Sure. Anyone else eager to pitch in on this? Casey?
I was going to say one thing we're seeing is a shift from the learner side is that they're taking a little bit longer to complete their degree. We're seeing them maybe take a little bit less credit hours per term, particularly since 2020 and the COVID peaks, and maybe some more breaks and pauses in their degree. I think particularly during the height of COVID, if we're talking 2020, we had some extra time on our hands. There weren't so many opportunities for extracurriculars. So people are buckling down. They were completing the degree in a short time frame or as short of time frame as possible, and looking to progress more quickly. We recommend and are pretty comfortable with students taking a little bit more time if needed, taking the time to participate in those extracurriculars, in the physical opportunities. And if that means you need to just take one course at a time, that works for us. If it works for you, there are also life changes, work changes, things that come up. And so flexibility in that regard as well, of taking pauses as needed.
Sure. Erica.
Yeah, so just in particular for CMU, the changes in our program, we have some residency weekends 3 times a year for our students. The main change has been we really want an emphasis on the co-curricular experiences, where they used to be you'd come to campus, you'd be in class most of the day, you've had a little bit of professional development sessions, and then maybe a fun social gathering in the evening. We've made a shift now for the weekends, or mostly professional development. We have students who were really enjoying the online connections with our Master's Career Center, with our Accelerate Leadership Center, but they wanted that in-person experience. So now each time they come into campus with us, they're getting access to both of those offices, one-on-one coaching with everybody who's available to our online students and dedicated to that population. We're evolving more of our programming to things that are tougher for working professionals to have access to, like putting on our own small case competitions or looking into potentially doing some hackathons when they're here on campus to either get exposure for the first time, or it's just something that's a little bit more low stakes. They don't have to travel to another location and figure out how to fund it on their own. We can bring it all to them while they're here on campus. So it's really changed from more sitting in the classroom and learning to more hands-on cross-cohort experiences and really applicable things that can take right back to the workplace.
Interesting. Matthew, how have things changed at UNC over that time?
Yeah, so 2020 was an interesting experience, I think, for everybody. And a lot of people spent a lot of time thinking about their jobs, their careers, their career paths, and how they want to proceed. I think we've seen a traditional shift away from taking an MBA and advancing in your career path and using MBA to pivot in your industry or to a new industry. So we've gone ahead and redesigned our core curriculum to help address this need. So what we've done is we've actually taken our previous core curriculum and we've consolidated a little bit, included some new core classes in AI, responsible leadership, and AI communications. We've got new strategy courses in there, and we've all condensed this. But basically what this allows students to do is come into the program now, and they can really tailor their curriculum to what they want to do. So if they are coming in and they want to pivot their careers, they can use the majority of the program to take the electives that they want and to really tailor their curriculum into what meets their needs. And we've seen some pretty good success with this as students come in and they're in the program, they start interviewing. And we've had students kind of say, "Yeah, I'm looking to pivot into this industry, but I'm taking all of these electives right now to help fulfill this need." So it's been a really interesting experience as students have kind of come out of COVID and kind of defined what they want. And I think the other big thing too is that we try to match the rigor. I think a lot of programs were forced online during COVID, and now that they're out of COVID, some programs have stuck online. Some programs were already there. And so we've tried to maintain a high level of rigor in our online education throughout the time there. So it's been an interesting pivot for us.
Definitely. And Lizette, I think you said Ross's program began in 2019, so
Yes.
you've got kind of a good beginning in comparison to now. What was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, from the beginning, right, we had the residencies, those experiences built into the program. One thing that's changed there is we've really expanded the opportunity by adding more of those. So we initially had 3, we're up to 5 now. And not only are they taking place here on campus, but we're offering twice a year at a broad location. And as you might imagine, those are very popular, highly competitive experiences that students are interested in. One other thing that has really changed from 2020, and given that we started just right before that, online learning has gained a much wider acceptance by employers and hiring companies. And so what we're seeing, at least at Michigan Ross, is a more competitive admissions pool. And so in 2020, right, trying to get in, I'm going to say was easier than it is today in 2026. The applicants we're seeing in this recruiting cycle, we're leaving us, we're going to have lots of tough decisions to make here. But ultimately, that just means that it's going to be a better experience with that peer-to-peer learning, because you're engaging with individuals, who can really make meaningful contributions in those classes. And so we're really looking forward to continuing to see how the program grows.
Yeah, I saw a lot of nods of recognition there when you talked about employers and how they regard the online MBA these days. I'm curious, this is one that came up in the discussions yesterday, but I'm just curious from all of you, whether you think there's still a difference in the way that employers regard online MBAs, provided that they're from an accredited, well-regarded program. Are you actually seeing much difference there in employability for students coming out of the programs?
I'll say that, I think that the biggest thing that we're thinking about, especially with the employers, is that it is the same degree. And I think that by and large, the benefit of kind of the last, 5-6 years has been this recognition that even though a lot of people may have been online for their jobs for far before the pandemic, that there was a heightened awareness of the fact that learning and and team building and all of these things can be done virtually. And so I think that there is still very much a notion that we're, irregardless of which program you pursue, whether it be an online program or an in-person program, that the skill set that you obtain through that degree is going to be qualities that employers are looking for. And so I think that there's we're shifting away from this notion of an online MBA being an MBA light, and rather employers are recognizing the value. And I would actually even take that the next level of saying there's actually even a greater heightened awareness between an employer that that is choosing an online MBA student, because they have that immediate return on investment, because you can be learning something at night or watching lectures online, and you have an immediate opportunity to be able to make those changes within your work site, within your workflows and your decision making, so that you can actually, in a just-in-time delivery mentality, create more impact within, your work in the corporate world. And so, unlike maybe, let's say, the historical notion of a full-time MBA program where somebody's leaving their employment, doing a year or two of their program and then returning to the workforce, with an online or any of our professional programs, there is that huge value of being able to immediately implement what you're learning. And I think we knew that as business schools for quite some time, but I think employers are starting to realize that even more so. And I think that coupled with all of the, the agile changes within curriculums and the co-curricular opportunities, I think employers are much more seeing the value of, kind of that individual that possesses grit of being able to, do an online MBA program, work full-time, be a seeker, if you will, for new roles, and then of course, being able to manage all of these things seamlessly. So I think that those are actually the transferable qualities that we're seeing rise to the top of the resume books, if you will.
Sure, Lisa.
Yeah, so completely agree with what Naz said. And I think the other thing about online MBA students is that employers know they're self-motivated, right? To pursue a degree in this way, you really have to look intrinsically into yourself and say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is why I'm doing it. And yes, they're taking those learnings, right, and applying them immediately. And for our students, we're seeing that really pay off in a big way. Our most recent graduating class, right? We had record high salaries. 56% of them said they received a promotion. 65% say they received a pay increase. So the employers, I'd say, are putting their money right with these students because they really see the value that they offer in a more immediate, tangible way.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been talking on about value on the employer side, but on the student side, where are you seeing the biggest shifts and expectations for these sorts of programs? We've touched on it a little bit, but if we can dig a bit more into that. Any takers?
I
Casey?
think Matthew mentioned this previously. For us, we've seen a bit of a shift of early on, really people looking for growth in their current career or sector. And we're now seeing more that are looking to change industry or make some bigger shift or adjustment. And so that's the biggest, I think. Difference we've seen, and the program has needed to adapt. Early on, we didn't need a lot of career resources because these were working professionals that were just looking for their next promotion or to grow in their current career. Now they're needing a little bit more support in mentorship, in finding opportunities, in learning how to break into a new industry. But the value of an online program is that vast network. It's reaching out and finding someone who works in the sector that you're interested in, maybe the particular company that you're looking to move into. And you're also not tied to a geographic location. You can learn from peers all across the globe and what opportunities are available.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm curious just to follow up on that, whether you think that that lean toward career pivots is something that naturally has evolved with the online MBA, or is it just kind of a symptom of the times? Are people looking to switch jobs, switch sector more than they had previously been?
You don't want to jump in on that
Sure.
one because I do think that we've seen a shift in, like I said, people wanting to pivot their careers, and for us, I think it has to do a lot with the flexibility of the program. So all of our students are working professionals. They come into the program and they have full-time jobs. They've got personal lives and families, and they're busy working professionals. And so I think the career pivot aspect comes in, and the flexibility of an online program, especially, like we offer students the ability to take the program in as little as 18 months, but as many as 36. On average, students take about 24 months. And so it's very flexible for students to come and take classes. If they need to take time off, they can take time off and really come in, and they start to see that. And so they start to think, well, what else, how can I apply this to my career path? And so we have several career coaches that we have in-house here at Kenan-Flagler who work with students from day one and beyond. So if they come back as alums, 5, 10, 15 years later, they can talk to our career coaches and help make that switch. And so I think students are kind of, that expectation now is that the flexibility is built into the program, and we're trying to meet that as much as possible.
I think too, just
Erica.
just the one of the benefits I think of the online program is that students now are getting more exposure to different areas of industry that they're interested in, the changes and trends within the job market that, they want to develop those different skills that maybe they weren't thinking about 3 or 4 years ago. So I think part of that change is due to just exposure to new places, new regions. A lot of, my colleagues have talked about international exposure to different job markets. So I think they get into these programs and they're connecting with their peers and they're realizing that there's so much more out there that they are interested in and wanting to try out and wanting to sharpen their skills. So I think that is definitely contributing to these pivots for students in the online programs.
If we've all finished on this one, I think we might move on to innovations. So, are there any particular ones that have surprised you in terms of student impact or success?
I think that I mean, going back to the notion of the evolution of our online program, I mean, I think that by and large, here at Warrington, we have about 900 or so enrolled MBA students across our full portfolio at any given time. That breaks down to about 21 different cohorts, albeit every cohort, even with our online groups, every cohort's going to be more small and intentional, and you're going to really get to know your cohort specifically and move through the curriculum with your cohort. And so, I think that when we're talking about, kind of innovations, we're constantly, I would say our academic and student engagement team are constantly thinking about how can we enrich this opportunity? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to immerse yourself in this type of investment, because we recognize that, and this kind of my response kind of touches on a few different things, but whether it's you're job seeking or just trying to upskill, or you're looking to kind of just become a better, more well-rounded individual, if and whenever the right opportunity presents itself, here at the MBA program, we have a fantastic team that's really designed to kind of provide that support along the way. So when we're talking about kind of the innovations, one of the big things that we have, we've always had our career coaches, we've always had, your academic advisors, we create the customized timelines to meet our students' needs. So, we pride ourselves on having a graduation and a retention rate of over 93% within our online MBA, student population. And those are all really important things. But I think being agile and being able to do things that help create a richer experience is also, at that point where we're at is, we've been able to offer so many things to support the transactional piece of being a student. So how are the other beyond the classroom opportunities will help create an even richer, MBA experience. And so when we're thinking about kind of the innovations, that have surprised us most, it's the very basic ones that I think we oftentimes forget about that tend to kind of create the most long-standing memories. And so the basic kind of networking and going to one of the big things that we've recently kind of reintegrated back is when students do come for campus residencies, or when we invite them to campus, for tailgates or sporting events, of course, there's going to be this inherent, care and desire to be a Florida Gator. But I think having the camaraderie and being able to experience, going to a game together or traveling abroad together or going, like a few weeks ago, I was in Dallas, where we visited Frito-Lay and we got to, all take a big picture in front of the big Cheeto, right? Like those are kind of innovations that like we're constantly thinking about. How can we make a richer MBA experience? And I think that supporting that through, basic, through the technology within the team, being able to ensure that at least the academic part, we know everybody will get that world-class faculty, delivery of their content. So it's all of the big other things that we're doing outside of the classroom, whether it's going to sporting events or going in and speaking with industry partners or going on global trips. So those are actually all of the kind of more innovative pieces. But the other thing that I want to point out is that we were deliberate about hiring a individual that purely focuses on professional development, and trying to kind of lean into what does an MBA student of today require to be, the best leader that we know they can be. So in part is also listening to our industry partners and our corporate partners to figure out, are there certain trainings and professional development opportunities that we think we should really be, implementing towards our MBA population, specifically our online students, so that they are getting the most out of their experience. So whether that's in Excel training to Scrum Master to Lean Six Sigma. So these are the things that we can actually, in a very agile manner, create new certifications or new processes in which we can, upskill, our students in new ways, in different ways than otherwise our faculty are able to do.
Thank you. Anybody else on innovations?
I can jump in.
Mm.
Think, I mentioned technology and being really intentional about it. Something that has happened along the evolution of the program is we now have an in-house team of learning designers that partner closely with our faculty and iterate on the course each time it's taught. So we're looking for, again, that best experience for the student and ultimately stronger student outcomes on the academic front. And then what we hear from students is they want more of those opportunities to network with students, not only in the online MBA program, but Michigan Ross in general. And so when we bring them to campus, right, we're bringing them together with our weekend MBA students, our full-time MBA students. Last month, we were in Chile. We took a group of both online and weekend MBA working professional students, had heard from faculty from the University of Chile, got to visit the Altiente mine, copper mine, which is the largest copper mine in the world, and really sort of living that action-based learning together with students coming from different perspectives has really helped those learning opportunities.
Mm. Sounds like a lot of kind of iterating as we go along, a lot of continual improvement. And I mean, we've already talked a bit about how these programs are working to better serve professionals, people who have lots of other things going on in their lives. I think, Matthew, you mentioned that you've got a flexible timeline in terms of how long it takes to complete the program. What are some of the other things? I think Naz maybe mentioned weekend events. Um, what are some of those other things that these programs are doing to accommodate students? Casey?
Yeah, since inception, our program has always offered flexible live lectures. So a live lecture offered 2 to 3 times a week, same lecture, but flexibility in when to attend. And while highly encouraged to attend live so that you can do the interactive components, that live lecture being available on demand as well. So without the attendance required. In going back to the previous question on innovation, and Lizette mentioned um, internal really media and course design teams has always been a big component of our programs and continues to grow. We have a brand new building with state-of-the-art studios to offer our live lectures. And that team is just really phenomenal on the things that they can do to make the class not feel like I'm sitting and talking to my Zoom, but very interactive, engaging, feels much more like a production. We, even as working professionals, have really poor time focus capability in today's day and age. So I think a lot of work is being done there on the back end from our programs as well to ensure students stay engaged and see the value of coming to a live lecture, or if they need to watch that on demand, they still feel invested and engaged in the content.
Sure, Erica.
Yeah, similar to what Casey's mentioning, constantly taking a look at what electives we're offering, evolving those, making sure we're meeting, what the workforce is looking for, what the students are interested in, it's matching with their career goals. We did some recent work too with our online hybrid GBA, our Graduate Business Association. We're always looking at the way we're laying out our core courses. That first kind of dive into the online MBA can be pretty intense. So making sure we're finding a good balance between our quant and qualitative classes to make sure we're not burning students out from the jump and try to give them as much flexibility and balance in that particular first year that we can offer. And even as far as opening up some of our residency weekends, we're lucky enough to offer at least one of them. Students can bring their partners with them. We've had weekends that they can bring their families with them so that they don't have to worry about finding childcare when they're in Pittsburgh with us. So really just trying to open it up as much as we can to allow students to come to Pittsburgh if they're not located here, and making sure their classes are fitting with their busy work schedules.
Mm. You mentioned burnout. Actually, that's a question for everyone. How do you ensure that students sustain focus throughout these programs? Or rather, if you were to give students one tip for sustaining focus and avoiding burnout during their program, what would it be? Matt, do you want to kick us, or Matthew, I'm sorry. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. No problem. It's a very real thing. In a lot of online MBA programs, this can be a very rigorous opportunity for students. I think we've discussed the change in the expectations in programs now. The rigor is there for a lot of top tier online programs, which is great. I'm glad to see the rigor in the classroom. But it can lead to burnout, especially for some of the working professional students that I mentioned. And so what we do to try to combat that is we are very kind of a high touch program. So we have staff that are constantly checking in on our students. Our program is flexible. We are constantly talking with students and getting them to either let us know what their plans are, how we can help, and move forward. We have regular networking sessions built into the program. Like I said, every quarter we're offering networking sessions. So sometimes there's this disconnect between you and the computer, and so you need to get out and network with the other people in your cohort, and maybe have an international experience. We offer a wide variety of international experiences while in the program, or experiential courses, like electives in our other MBA program formats. So if you're doing the same thing time and time again, we encourage students to really take advantage of all of those things, because it helps prevent the burnout. And then ultimately, if they need to take time off from the program, they can do that. We've had students get married. We've had students change jobs and have babies, and all sorts of different career and life changes. So it's definitely doable, and we're happy to help students along their MBA journey.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's something particularly helpful about seeing people face to face and talking to them that helps remind us sometimes we're not just sitting in front of a screen and working. There's more to it than that. Um, Lisette, do you want to add to that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So given the amount of work experience these students are coming in with, it's been a while since many of them have been in school. And so at the beginning, we say ease into it, right? Because you don't know how much time you actually have until you're in it. And so we recommend starting with one class, seeing how that feels, and then, increasing or decreasing as your life or work schedule requires you to. So we do permit students up to 5 years to finish the program. So if they need to take off some time, Matt mentioned people having babies, that you never know what's going to happen there. So if you need a little extra time, that's built into the program. And then that connecting with others and building the relationship. So we have a student council specifically for our online MBA students. And one of the things they're tasked with doing is they host in-person meetups in cities where we sort of have a number of students. And those are meant to be purely social, get to know one another, talk with someone who's, going through the same thing you're going through. So you don't feel isolated and alone and like, I'm the only one going through this. And we found that hosting those kinds of things have really helped deepen those connections between the students.
Definitely helpful to have a drink or a meal with someone as well. Um, Erica, what about you?
Similar to what everybody else has sort of mentioned, we really encourage that community building, leaning on your peers for support, trying to provide them with additional resources too from the jump of, we have tutors available if that's something you feel like you need, if you want to revisit some concepts that maybe you haven't seen since you've been out of the classroom for 8, 9 years. Leaning on your faculty with they're always offering open office hours. So really just kind of focusing in on that is in particular those first couple semesters and accessing all the resources that are available to you so that you know that they're there. But as Lizette had mentioned too, talking to somebody who's going through what you're going through, I think is just one thing that can really lift it off your shoulders. Feeling like you're not doing it on your own, I think can really help with the burnout.
Absolutely. And Casey and then Naz, I'll let you have the final word on this one.
Yeah, very similar to my peers on, connection is important. That can help with the burnout. Taking a pause is important. One thing that we haven't talked about, I think most online MBA programs operate in this way at this point, but our courses are 8 weeks in length, and I generally think I can make it through anything over 8 weeks, right? If this is a difficult course, it is shorter than your typical traditional 16-week semester. So that's something that I think you can see that finish line, you can see the completion. Our program in particular also offers transcriptable smaller credentials, so you can earn graduate certificates throughout the program. So for completing a series of 3 courses, you have that specialization that you can begin to add to your resume. You can begin to talk to, your employer about a promotion that you've earned this credential, which I think helps set those milestones along the program and help you feel invested and motivated to continue.
And I'll just add that, so much about the burnout is boils down to, we recognize that everybody is working 40, 50, 60 hours a week while, taking on this part-time job basically of doing an online MBA program. And so we say actually day one of orientation, the number one is to communicate to all of those in your network, family, friends, employers, pets, that you're, embarking on this experience so that people have a heightened awareness of the fact that you have a lot of things going on. And of course, deadlines will still be deadlines, right? And they still have to be met. But I think having that open line of communication is really imperative to help prevent burnout. Now, the second part of that is that, as I said, we are cohort-based format program, so that you're coming in with a group of either 50 to 65 students, and you have your immediate team of about 4 or 5 individuals where you all are working together week in, week out for various projects or deliverables within the MBA program. And those team members, I think, are actually a really critical part of this MBA experience, because it's not about creating more work, but rather diffusing the work. And so well-functioning teams have figured out a way to ensure that when someone has busy tax season coming up, that maybe that team member is going to take a back seat, and the other team members can carry the weight a little bit more so during that period of time, so that then when off season for that individual presents itself, that they can be a little bit more hands-on. So that's actually a really important piece of this equation of having peers that are living and breathing kind of a similar experience that you can help get that support from, to ensure that burnout doesn't happen. And then every MBA cohort has a dedicated cohort representative that can be the eyes and the ears of the cohort back to us as the program, so that if there are other things that are going on kind of holistically within the cohort, and maybe not at that individual level, that as a program we can help triage that. But at the end of the day, I mean, the important part is nobody wants a half-earned MBA, and I think I love Casey's notion that Gies offers the credentialing, micro-credentialing, if you will. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure all of our students are successful, because it doesn't bode well for any of our brands if someone isn't able to earn that degree and be successful at being a brand ambassador for years to come. So for us, it's ensuring that we can provide all of the support along the way, whether that's professional support with our career coaches, whether that's academic support with our faculty or advising, or even with our financial aid advisors, because life happens. And so being able to ensure that we have all of those needs that we can meet along the way is imperative for our student success, and to ensure that they are not only successful but happy when they graduate.
And that is a very nice note to end on, leaning on your peers, your institution, and hopefully all pulling through in the end there. Well, on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. And thanks so much to our speakers. This has been Reimagining the Online MBA, and we hope you will watch later at home if you're doing this asynchronously. Thanks, everyone.